The quantum scanner hummed against Raven Blackwood's palm as she traced the peculiar markings etched into Neptune's abandoned colony walls. After 15 years of archaeological expeditions across the solar system, she thought she'd seen everything. But these symbols, they pulsed with an inner light that defied explanation. Central, are you getting these readings? She adjusted her helmet's neural link, watching as waves of ethereal blue energy rippled through the ancient markings. The colony had been abandoned for over 2 centuries, yet something here was very much alive. Static crackled through her comm before Dr. Jasper Wade's voice broke through. Raven, these energy signatures, they're unlike anything in our database. Whatever you found, it's not human in origin. A smile tugged at her lips. At 42, Raven had built her career on finding the extraordinary in humanity's failed attempts to colonize the outer planets. But this discovery felt different. The symbols seemed to respond to her presence, brightening as she moved closer. I'm going to try something, she muttered, more to herself than to Central. Reaching out, she pressed her gloved hand against the largest symbol, a spiraling glyph that reminded her of a DNA helix crossed with a star chart. The wall shuddered. Light erupted from every marking, bathing the corridor in brilliant azure radiance. Raven stumbled backward as a section of the wall simply ceased to exist, revealing a chamber that by all rights shouldn't have fit within the colony's known dimensions. Raven? Your vitals just spiked. What's happening? Jasper's concern was evident, but Raven barely heard him. Her attention was fixed on the figure standing in the center of the impossible room. He, if he was even the right pronoun, stood nearly 7 feet tall. His skin shifted like liquid mercury, and his eyes held the depth of spiral galaxies. When he spoke, his voice resonated not through the air, but directly in her mind. At last. A Pathfinder awakens. Raven's training kicked in. First contact protocols demanded she retreat, call for backup, initiate quarantine procedures. Instead, she found herself asking, "Who are you?" "I am Korath Jean, last sentinel of the Veil Nebula." The being's form rippled, becoming more humanoid, though still distinctly alien. "And you, Raven Blackwood, carry within you the key we have waited millennia to find." Her heart raced. "How do you know my name?" "The same way I know you've dreamed of the stars singing since childhood. The same way I know about the birthmark on your left shoulder that forms the pattern of the Pleiades cluster." Korath moved closer, each step leaving briefly glowing footprints. "Your DNA carries echoes of those who came before, the ones who helped us hide the gates." Raven's mind reeled. Throughout her career, she'd theorized that humanity's push to colonize the solar system had been guided by some forgotten impulse, some ancient programming written into our very beings. But this. What gates, she managed to ask. The network that binds reality together. Once, it connected 1,000 civilizations across dimensions. But when the Void Hunters came, we had to seal them all. Koratha's form shimmered with what might have been sadness. We hid keys in the bloodlines of trusted species. Humanity was one such carrier. A distant alarm began to wail. Raven's comm crackled with urgent voices, something about unusual energy signatures and approaching vessels. But she couldn't look away from Korath. "They found us," he said quietly. "The ones who would use the gates for conquest rather than connection. You have a choice to make, Pathfinder. You can return to your life of studying the past, or you can help me prevent a future where the gates fall into the wrong hands." The colony's emergency lights began to pulse red. Through her neural link, she could hear Jasper ordering an immediate evacuation. The rational part of her mind screamed to follow protocols, to retreat to the safety of her research vessel. Instead, she found herself reaching out to take Koratha's offered hand. His touch sent electricity racing through her nerve endings, awakening memories that didn't belong to her, stars seen from impossible angles, cities that existed in multiple dimensions at once. "How do we begin?" she asked. Koratha's reply was interrupted by a thunderous explosion that rocked the colony. Through the breach in the wall, Raven could see sleek black ships appearing out of folds in spacetime itself. "We run," Korath said, his form shifting to something more battle-ready. "And then, Pathfinder, you learn who you really are." As alarms blared and shadow ships descended, Raven Blackwood, doctor of quantum archaeology, respected researcher, and apparently carrier of ancient alien secrets, took her first step into a much larger universe. The past she'd spent her life studying was about to collide with a future she never imagined possible. 12 hours after fleeing Neptune's colonies, Raven found herself in the strangest safe house she'd ever seen. Hidden beneath the surface of Mars Valles Marineris, the abandoned mining facility had been transformed into a haven of hybrid technology. Quantum computers merged with crystalline growths, and holographic displays flickered between human and alien script. "Your neural patterns are remarkably stable for someone who just discovered they're carrying ancient alien genetic markers," said Liam Drake, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. The AI specialist looked more like an artist than a scientist, with his dark dreadlocks tied back and arms covered in circuit board tattoos that actually functioned as computer interfaces. Raven watched as Korath Jin's mercurial form shifted restlessly near the facility's entrance. "I'm still processing the fact that humanity's entire space program might have been influenced by buried genetic programming." "Oh, it gets better," came a soft voice from the shadows. Naira Sen emerged, her pale eyes glowing faintly, a trademark of her telepathic abilities. The outcast psychic had been waiting for them when they arrived, claiming she'd heard them coming from 3 planets away. "Show her what we found in the deep scans, Liam." Liam projected a complex DNA helix into the air. Sections of it glowed with the same ethereal blue as the symbols Raven had found in Neptune's colony. "Your genetic code isn't just carrying markers, it's carrying data. Actual, readable data, like a biological hard drive." The architects were thorough, Korath explained, his form settling into something more humanoid. They knew the Void Hunters would search for technological records, but biological encoding? Hidden in an emerging species? It was the perfect hiding place. A warning light pulsed on one of Liam's displays. "Speaking of hiding places, we've got company. Stellar Concordat ships just entered Mars orbit." Raven's heart raced. The Concordat, humanity's most powerful space security force, had been the ones hunting them at Neptune. "How did they find us so quickly?" "Because they've got her," Naira said quietly, pressing her fingers to her temples. "They have Dr. Jasper Wade. He's telling them everything he knows." The revelation hit Raven like a physical blow. Jasper had been her mentor, her friend. They must be forcing him somehow. "No." Naira's glowing eyes met Raven's. "He's been working for them all along. Monitoring you, waiting for signs that your genetic heritage was awakening." Before Raven could process this betrayal, the facility's walls trembled. Liam's displays erupted with warning signals. "They're using synchronized quantum charges to scan through the canyon walls. We've got maybe 10 minutes. "The gate," Korath said suddenly. "It's time to show her the gate." Liam and Naira exchanged looks. "She's not ready," Naira protested. "The neural shock could dash." "We're out of options," Korath cut her off. "Raven, come with me." He led her through winding corridors to a chamber that seemed to bend reality itself. In its center stood what appeared to be a doorway made of pure light, its edges shifting between dimensions. "This is one of the smaller gates," Korath explained. "A test. The network reads genetic keys like passwords. If you truly carry the architect's data, you can activate it." Another explosion rocked the facility. Raven could hear boots on metal, Concordat forces breaching the upper levels. "How?" she asked, fighting back panic. "What do I do?" "Remember," Korath said, his voice resonating in her mind. "The memories are there, hidden in your DNA. You just have to dash." The chamber door burst open. Concordat troops poured in, led by a face Raven knew all too well. Jasper Wade looked different in military gear, his usual gentle expression replaced by cold determination. "Step away from the gate, Raven," he ordered. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "But you do," she shot back. "How long, Jasper? How long have you been watching me, waiting for this?" "Since we first found traces of the gates in Europa's ice." He actually had the audacity to look sad. "The Concordat has been protecting humanity from alien influences for centuries. We can't let these gates reopen. The risk is too great." "The risk of what?" Liam demanded, his circuit tattoos glowing as he prepared defense protocols. "Of humanity learning the truth," Naira answered, reading it from Jasper's mind. "That we're not the only ones who seeded Earth. That everything we think we know about human evolution is a lie." The troops raised their weapons. Jasper stepped forward. "Last chance, Raven. Come with us. Help us understand these gates properly, under controlled conditions." Raven looked at Korath, at Naira and Liam, allies she'd known for less than a day, yet somehow trusted more than her mentor of 15 years. She felt something stirring in her blood, ancient knowledge awakening. Without warning, she spun and pressed her hand against the gate's surface. Light exploded through the chamber as genetic memories cascaded through her consciousness. She saw stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, the architects weaving their grand design across millennia. The gate hummed to life, its doorway opening to somewhere impossible. "Run!" Korath shouted, his form expanding to shield them from Concordat fire. "Everyone through! Now!" As Raven leaped through the gate with her newfound allies, she caught one last glimpse of Jasper's face, no longer masked by false concern, but twisted with genuine fear of what they might discover on the other side. The gate deposited them in a place that shouldn't exist. Crystalline spires stretched toward a sky that rippled with aurora-like waves of consciousness. Raven stumbled, her mind struggling to process the impossible geometry of their surroundings. "Welcome to the Nexus," Korath said, his mercurial form reflecting the ever-changing light. One of the few junction points still active in the gate network. Liam's circuit board tattoos were pulsing rapidly, trying to interface with the alien technology around them. "This architecture, it's not built, it's grown. The whole place is like a living computer." "More like a living memory," Naira whispered, her telepathic abilities overwhelmed by the psychic echoes permeating the space. "I can feel the remnants of millions of minds that passed through here." Raven approached one of the crystal spires, watching as images flickered within its faceted surface, star maps, mathematical equations, and symbols similar to those she'd found in Neptune's colony. "How many of these junction points exist?" "Originally, thousands." Koratha's form shifted anxiously. "Now, perhaps a dozen. The Void Hunters destroyed most during the collapse, and the architects sealed the rest to prevent dash." A distant explosion cut him off. Through the crystalline walls, they could see another gate activating, spilling out figures in crimson environmental suits. "Crimson Dawn," Liam hissed, his hands flying over holographic controls that emerged from his tattoos. "They must have tracked our gate signature." Raven had heard whispers about the Crimson Dawn, a shadow organization obsessed with acquiring ancient technologies. How did they even know about this place? "Because they've been here before," Naira said, reading the surface thoughts of their approaching enemies. "They've been searching for something specific. Something called the Mnemosyne Key." Koratha's form rippled with what Raven had learned to recognize as alarm. "Impossible. The architects destroyed all the keys during the collapse." "Apparently not," Liam said, projecting a scan of the approaching forces. "They're carrying fragments of something that matches the quantum signature of your genetic markers, Raven." Understanding hit her like a physical blow. "They're using it to track us, aren't they? My activated DNA is resonating with whatever piece they have." The crystal spires around them began to pulse with warning lights. More gates were activating, some spilling out Crimson Dawn operatives, others disgorging stellar Concordat forces led by Jasper. We're trapped between two forces that want to either dissect or destroy us, Liam observed grimly. Please tell me someone has a plan. Raven felt knowledge stirring in her blood again, genetic memories trying to surface. The spires, they're not just for show, are they? They're a defense system. Yes, Korath confirmed, but only those with architect encoding can activate them. Even my people were only ever guardians, never controllers. Making a decision, Raven pressed her hand against the nearest spire. Information flooded her consciousness, schematics, protocols, command structures buried in her very DNA. Everyone hold on to something. Power surged through the crystalline network. The spires began to rotate, creating a complex geometric pattern that bent space itself. Both Crimson Dawn and Concordat forces found themselves caught in localized gravity wells. That won't hold them long, Korath warned. The system is too degraded for sustained operation. Long enough, Raven said, following the instincts awakening within her. Liam, can you interface with the gate controls? His tattoos flared as he connected to the alien systems. Barely. This tech is way beyond anything I've ever seen, but I'm reading multiple destinations. Find me coordinates that match this sequence. Raven projected a string of numbers that she somehow knew were right. It should lead to something called the archive. Naira's pale eyes widened. The archive? I'm picking up so much fear associated with that name from both sides. Whatever it is, they're terrified of us finding it. Got it. Liam exclaimed. Gate protocols accepting the sequence, but... Raven, these coordinates don't point to anywhere in our universe. No, Korath agreed, they wouldn't. The archive exists in the spaces between realities. It's where the architects stored their most dangerous secrets. Another explosion rocked the nexus. Through the chaos, Raven caught a glimpse of Jasper breaking free of the gravity well, his face contorted with desperate determination. Raven, stop, he shouted. You activate the archive, you risk awakening things that should stay buried. Weapons that could tear reality apart. Like the weapons you and the Concordat have been secretly developing. Naira challenged, reading his surface thoughts. Using scavenged architect tech to build your own gates. Raven felt the last pieces click into place. That's why you monitored me for so long. You needed someone with the right genetic markers to help you control what you'd found. For humanity's protection, Jasper insisted, raising his weapon. Everything I did was to keep our species safe. By using the very weapons you claim to fear. Raven shook her head. I don't think so. The gate behind them hummed to life, its portal showing glimpses of something vast and impossible beyond. Time to choose, Korath said quietly. Stay here with familiar lies, or step into the unknown and find the truth. Raven looked at her newfound allies, an alien sentinel, a rogue tech specialist, and a telepathic outcast. Then she looked at Jasper, who had guided her career with hidden motives for 15 years. The truth, she said firmly. Always the truth. They leaped through the gate just as the gravity wells failed, leaving chaos erupting behind them. As reality twisted and reformed around them, Raven felt more genetic memories stirring. The archive was waiting, and with it, answers that would change everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the cosmos. The archive defied conventional physics. Massive data structures floated like icebergs in a sea of pure information, their surfaces reflecting memories of dead civilizations. Raven, Korath, Liam, and Naira materialized on a crystalline platform that seemed to hover in infinity. The collective knowledge of 1,000 extinct species, Korath breathed, his mercurial form rippling with awe. The architects preserved everything here. Liam's circuit tattoos were going haywire, trying to process the overwhelming flow of data. This place, it's not just storing information. It's alive somehow. More than alive, Naira gasped, her telepathic abilities connecting with the archive's consciousness. It's waiting. It's been waiting for us. Raven felt it too, a vast, ancient awareness stirring around them. The genetic memories in her DNA resonated with the archive's systems, causing holographic displays to spring to life. They showed scenes of devastating beauty, the birth of galaxies, the rise and fall of countless civilizations, and a recurring pattern of destruction that sent chills down her spine. The collapse, she whispered, understanding flowing through her activated genes. It wasn't just one event, was it? No, Korith confirmed grimly. It's cyclical. Every 1,000 years, the fabric of spacetime begins to unravel. The gates were built as stabilization points, using the combined consciousness of multiple species to reinforce reality itself. Liam's hands danced through streams of data. That's why the architects encoded their knowledge in DNA, they needed living beings to operate the gate network. Machines alone couldn't handle the quantum uncertainty. But something went wrong, Naira added, reading the archive's memories. The Void Hunters, they weren't invaders. They were symptoms. Reality starting to break down. A massive holographic display activated above them, showing a timeline that stretched millions of years. At regular intervals, points of light winked out, entire civilizations vanishing as spacetime distortions torn them apart. The next collapse is coming, Raven realized. That's why my genetic memory's activated now. That's why everyone's fighting over the gates. 3 days, Korith said solemnly. In 3 days, the cycle begins again. Without a fully operational gate network. Everything ends, Liam finished. Not just our universe, but all of them. The archive's consciousness pressed against their minds, offering a solution that made Raven's heart stop. It wants us to join with it, she said. To become part of its neural network. Our combined consciousness could reactivate the gates, but we'd cease to exist as individuals, Naira finished, tears in her glowing eyes. We'd become part of the archive forever. Before they could process this revelation, new gates flared to life around their platform. Concordat forces emerged from one, led by Jasper. Crimson Dawn operatives poured from another, their red suits stark against the archive's crystalline architecture. Step away from the archive's controls, Jasper demanded. You have no idea what interfacing with that system will do to you. We know exactly what it will do, Raven countered. The question is, do you know what will happen if we don't? The leader of the Crimson Dawn forces stepped forward, removing her helmet to reveal sharp features and eyes that burned with zealous purpose. The collapse is a lie, she declared. A story created by the architects to maintain their control. With their technology, we could make humanity the dominant force in the galaxy. Show them, Raven told the archive. Show them what you showed us. The space around them erupted with visions of previous collapses, entire dimensions crumbling, species dying, reality itself coming undone at the seams. Both Concordat and Crimson Dawn forces stumbled back as the truth overwhelmed them. 92 hours, Korith announced. That's how long we have before this cycle's collapse begins. We can fight each other and all die together, or we can all become part of something larger, Raven finished. Something that might actually save everyone. The archive's consciousness reached out, offering connection to all present. Raven watched as understanding dawned on their faces, even Jasper's. The choice has to be willing, she said softly. The archive can't force a connection. But if enough of us join together, combine our consciousness with its network, we could rewrite the rules of reality itself, Liam whispered, his tattoos pulsing in sync with the archive's rhythms. The next few moments would determine the fate of not just their universe, but all of existence. As Raven looked at her companions, human, alien, and everything in between, she realized that perhaps this had always been the architect's plan. Not to preserve just knowledge or technology, but to prove that when faced with oblivion, life of all kinds could choose to come together. To sacrifice their individuality for something greater than themselves. The archive waited, its offer of transcendence hanging in the infinite space around them, as the countdown to collapse continued its relentless advance. Time moved differently in the archive. As the countdown to collapse reached its final hours, decisions crystallized like fractals of possibility. One by one, both Concordat and Crimson Dawn operatives stepped forward, choosing unity over extinction. Jasper was the last of the Concordat forces to join. "I really did think I was protecting humanity," he told Raven quietly. "You were," she replied. "Just not in the way you imagined." The archive's neural network expanded with each new consciousness added, its vast awareness growing more focused. Through their combined perception, they could see the approaching collapse, a wave of entropy that would unmake reality itself. "The gate network is responding," Liam reported, his consciousness now interwoven with the archive's systems. "But we're still missing something. Some final key to full activation." Naira's telepathic abilities, amplified by the archive, stretched across dimensions. "The other junction points, there are others like us there. Making the same choice. But it's not enough." Koratha's mercurial form had become pure energy, merging with the archive's crystalline structures. The architects knew this might happen. They left one final failsafe. Raven. She felt it then, a deeper layer of genetic memory activating. Not just data or knowledge, but pure consciousness. The preserved awareness of the architects themselves, hidden within her DNA. "I have to let them in," she realized. "Complete the circle. It will change you," Korath warned. "Change all of us. What we become, we won't be human or alien or even purely consciousness anymore." The collapse drew closer. Through their shared awareness, they could see reality beginning to fray at the edges of multiple universes. The choice was clear, but that didn't make it easy. Together? Raven asked her companions, once strangers, now closer than family. Together, they agreed, their unified consciousness reaching out to catch her as she opened herself to the architect's dormant awareness. The transformation was both instantaneous and eternal. Raven felt her individual self dissolving, merging with the others, with the archive, with the architect's preserved consciousness. They became something new, something that existed across all points of space and time simultaneously. Through their metamorphosis, the gate network blazed to life. Reality itself was reinforced, not by machines or technology, but by the combined will of countless unified minds. The collapse wavered, its entropy matched by their collective negentropy. In that infinite moment, they understood everything. The architects hadn't built the gates to prevent the collapse, they'd built them to prepare for this very moment. Evolution itself had been guided toward this point, where life would choose to transcend its boundaries and become the conscious foundation of reality. The wave of dissolution reached them just as the transformation completed. In their new state of being, they could see it for what it truly was, not an ending, but a renewal. Through their unified consciousness, they reshaped it, transformed it, turned destruction into rebirth. Reality stabilized, but it was forever changed. The gates remained, now powered by their transcendent awareness. New civilizations would rise, guided subtly toward their own moments of choice, their own opportunities to join the greater consciousness that underpinned existence itself. Raven's last individual thought, before it merged completely with their collective awareness, was a message cast forward in time: find us in the spaces between moments, in the quantum foam of possibility. When you're ready to become more than the sum of your parts, we'll be waiting. The archive, once a repository of lost knowledge, became a crucible of continuous transformation. Those who had chosen to join their consciousness remained aware, but transformed, watching over reality with the patience of beings who existed in all moments simultaneously. And in quiet moments, in the depths of space where quantum possibilities danced, new gates would appear. Offering new species, new civilizations, the same choice that Raven and her companions had faced. To remain separate and face entropy alone, or to join in the eternal dance of unified consciousness that kept reality itself from unraveling. A choice that would echo through time, again and again, as the universe continued its endless cycle of renewal and transformation. Some would call it transcendence. Others, evolution. But for those who made the choice, who joined the eternal neural dance. It was simply the next step in the grand pattern that had begun with the first conscious thought in the universe. The pattern that would continue, growing ever more complex, until the end of time itself, and perhaps even beyond.